Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the speakers workshop for the 2024 Construction Inclusion Conference. This is the first time that we've gone out for a call to speakers, and so we're looking forward to the submissions that will be supplied by our industry partners, our DE&I practitioners, our workforce developers, and all those people that are interested in bettering our construction industry as a whole. Today, I'm joined by Ricardo Carlo, the president of the Associated Minority Contractors, and Wendy Taylor, who is on the Construction Inclusion Conference Speakers Committee to help get this information to all of you so that we can get some good submissions and let you know what to expect. So today's agenda for this workshop, we want to cover a couple of things, primarily to let you know what's going on as it relates to the 2024 Construction Inclusion Conference. So we'll cover what Construction Inclusion Week is, specifically what the AMCA Construction Inclusion Conference relates to, the national curriculums and topics, well, what we expect in terms of speaker prep and schedule and needs, the timeline overall, and then we'll go through some questions and answers. So first of all, the Construction Inclusion Conference that we hold here locally in Phoenix, Arizona, is part of a national effort for raising awareness related to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the construction industry. Nationally, Construction Inclusion Week runs from October 14th through October 18th. That's for this year in 2024. It has been held annually in October, at about mid-October. The purpose is to provide practical content and resources for people within the construction industry so that they can advance their diversity, equity, and inclusion goals, so that they know how to act upon it, so they can measure where their starting point is as it relates to company maturity on those topics. It acknowledges that every company is at a different point in that journey. But as we did decades ago in terms of creating a safety-minded workplace, this is acknowledging that this inclusive workplace is in that same kind of development. So years from now, I'm sure we'll talk about safety-mindedness and equity and inclusion in very similar sentences and very similar perspectives. Construction Inclusion Week provides a national platform for dialogue and inspires action locally within the companies that are practicing, that are committing to promoting an equitable workplace. And so it focuses on that future, what that future workplace looks like. We know that in the construction industry, we have a challenge in attracting, retaining, and developing talent. And part of our efforts to attract the finest talent is to one, communicate that our workplace is equitable, that is inclusive, that there is an opportunity for all, that we value the variety of thoughts and characteristics that every worker brings to the industry. So we are promoting that through Construction Inclusion Week. We also recognize that our supplier diversity efforts lend towards that by creating economic opportunity for the businesses that supply resources, manpower, subcontracting, other materials to our projects and our on our contracts, that those also create economic opportunity and additional opportunities for inclusion of a diverse workforce and supplier diversity base. Locally, we're hosting a conference on Wednesday, October 16th of that week. The conference is hosted by the Associated Minority Contractors of Arizona. It's being held on Wednesday, which is traditionally the Supplier Diversity Day within Construction Inclusion Week. And it's to provide awareness and education for people within the industry. We want to discuss the importance of DE&I in our industry, apply it to workplace trends, highlight the importance of leadership in these roles, but also acknowledge that each person's role towards this effort is different. So each person's role towards a safe and inclusive industry is different. And so we want to make sure we provide the network, knowledge, actionable steps for non-DE&I construction staff to be leaders in this effort. So that's one of the unique things about this particular conference. Although it is on Construction Inclusion Week Supplier Diversity Day, it's not necessarily about supplier diversity, nor is it aimed towards the regular practitioners of diversity, equity, and inclusion within our construction industry. As a matter of fact, we're looking to broaden the audience and the people who know about these efforts in the industry, especially if they're not working on this in a day-to-day. Our past supporters, we've done this is our third year now in Arizona hosting the Construction Inclusion Conference. Our past supporters include some of the biggest contractors here locally, civil, structural, everything from commercial builders to private developers, as well as some of the service providers and government agencies that we work alongside. So we have a good representation of supporters that serve on the committee to make sure that we host a quality conference, that we attract speakers that are going to resonate with the audience, and they help fund and provide the resources for us to execute a top-notch conference for our peers and professionals in the construction industry. We do tap into the curriculum and topics that are covered on the national level. And so I wanted to highlight those here today. As a matter of fact, you can look up the past curriculum and past themes, but they all stay within these 5 nationwide themes, one for each day of the week. They are geared towards creating that awareness, providing that education, and inspiring action within our own workplaces. The national themes include leadership, commitment, and accountability. Oftentimes we'll see comments there about what's happening on a leadership basis from the organizations that are hiring, that are transacting in the construction industry, or from our project owners and clients as to why this is an important effort in our industry. The second theme is creating a culture of inclusion and belonging. So what that safe space is, what that safe mental space is, defining what inclusion and belonging looks like, topics like allyship, mentorship, and those types of things, the steps that people can take within their workplace to ensure that we are actually including our coworkers and creating that sense of belonging in our industry. The third day, as I mentioned before, is supplier diversity. So who our trade partners are, who our suppliers, who our business partners are, and recognizing the diversity of those businesses that work alongside one another in the industry. Number 4 is very important, establishing a positive workplace culture. Workforce development is one of the biggest priorities and one of the biggest challenges in the construction industry. So as we attract our workforce for future generations, for the growth of our industry, we have to create a positive workplace culture. And so that's the theme of number 4, Thursday. And then finally, community engagement, putting that into practice, getting out in the community, exposing the industry and its efforts towards construction, inclusion, diversity, and equity in our community so that we can share that with future generations and those who may not know much about our industry and the efforts that we're taking. So if you want to find out more about Construction Inclusion Week on a national level, their website is up and running, constructioninclusionweek.com. They have their current information out. I believe they're going to launch their curriculum for 2024 in July, but there are some good resources there for benchmarking what construction inclusion looks like within your company, and also some of the topics and thought papers behind the efforts related to this national campaign. Locally, we condensed it. So taking those same themes and condensing it to a half-day, highly focused conference. It's half-day by design. There are so many activities going on related to Construction Inclusion Week within the week that we wanted to make sure that we could provide focused attention and information to an audience that may not always get this kind of information. So this year's conference is on Wednesday, October 16th. It will begin at 8 and it ends at 1 p.m. We have plenty of snacks, but we do not provide the meal. We just want to make sure that people can get back out to their workplace. Our location has been generously provided by National Bank of Arizona. We are using their conference center, which is near the Biltmore in central Phoenix. So it's easily accessible by freeway. It has ample parking, and it's just a great professional facility for our audience to really absorb the information that's being presented. As I mentioned, it's a half day of focused education and professional development. Our audience, as I mentioned before, is not the DE&I traditional practitioner, nor is it the diverse suppliers that we often target in efforts from the Associated Minority Contractors of Arizona. Our audience is targeted towards those people that make an impact on the day-to-day and don't recognize necessarily, or may not recognize, may not recognize that they make those impacts every day for being leaders and creating an inclusive work environment. We're looking at project managers, estimators, craft leadership, business development personnel, business owners, community members, and we have also had several government agencies that would like to come in and understand our industry better and the efforts that we're implementing. But it's so that we can create a more inclusive workplace, a more inclusive industry. This is our third year. The format of the conference has developed over the years. In year one, it was our very first time, and we had 4 panels, each of them taking on a different theme, each of them having senior leadership, senior thought makers and thought leaders in the industry as it related to leadership, workforce development, supplier diversity, and the overall why behind why we do this. Year 2, we incorporated 2 national speakers and 2 panels. Because of the changing landscape, if you will, related to affirmative action, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, definitions of minority women business programs, we thought it was necessary to bring in a nationally recognized attorney that could cover that information for us to discuss what the trends are on a national basis. We also had a thought leader on allyship in the construction industry. Both national speakers were a great addition to the panels where we covered some more information in depth. This is the first year we're calling out for speakers, and we may adjust the format and the timing based on what is proposed by the individual speakers. We recognize that this is the year for us to look at what's innovative out in our industry, whether it comes from the construction arena or not. There are changes and developments as it relates to diversity, equity, inclusion. There are practices and innovations as it relates to attracting a newer workforce to replace some of our industry, or to change with our industry, if you will. There are new measures for supplier diversity, and so we're calling to our industry and our peers out there for some new content. We will adjust as we need to. Past speakers and topics can be seen on the AMCA's website. Those are available via YouTube channel, and if the link doesn't work, we'll make sure that you get the correct link, or that it loads for you, because it's important that this information is accessible even beyond the conference. We provide a very focused half-day conference, but we want the information to be out there for anyone that's coming into our industry and who needs that that knowledge, if you will, those actionable steps. This year, we're looking for presenters who can bring a fresh perspective and who can engage with the audience. We would like to have captivating content. We want to make sure that the audience is able to use this information and feel empowered in their day-to-day work. So if you have that, we're looking forward to your submission. Here's some considerations when you're framing your abstract or your write-up about for your session. As I mentioned before, this is a DE&I practitioners audience, right? So these are people who may not know the jargon as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. They may not know the jargon relating to supplier diversity or workforce trends. So know that as you're preparing your remarks. Key stakeholders in our industry include those involved in workforce development, those employing the workforce, as well as the workforce itself, employers, suppliers, project owners, government agencies, and project funders. So this has varying levels of importance and multiple priorities amongst those different stakeholders. And so I wanted you to know that they are a part of the audience. I hope that any of the sessions that are proposed can help the audience to recognize opportunities to put these new skills into practice, right? Knowing when is the right time to do that, whether it's a tactic for mentorship, a tactic for allyship, a tactic for inclusion, a tactic for workforce empowerment, those things that they're able to recognize those opportunities and put that into practice. It would be great if the topic could be applied to an individual's job and function in the industry. You may want to discuss or cover why this is important to the industry as a whole, why it's important to company leadership or any of the stakeholders that we discussed, but also why the topic that you're covering is important to the person individually. There is an online submittal process. It is using a Google form. If you have any trouble with the Google form, please contact Wendy Taylor. Her contact information is at the bottom of the screen, and I'll read it at the end of this slide. But you are going to be provided a link after this session for where to submit that presentation. So you'll go to amca.com/contents/conference-2024, click the submit presentation button, complete all the required fields. We are looking for submissions by May 10th. Honestly, it could be midnight, right before midnight on May 10th. We'll accept submissions all the way through May 10th. So that gives us enough time to evaluate the topics that are being presented, possibly follow up with some questions if we want to know more about your approach, and then to make a decision by the end of May. So all presenters will be notified whether they were selected or not by May 31st. Again, Wendy's information is wendy.taylor@kuniklo.com, shown on the screen, and her phone number is also shown on screen. Your submission should include, and these are not hard and fast rules, they're a guideline to help us evaluate all topics fairly and efficiently. Please provide the session title and then a 100-word synopsis of your topic. So that abstract should cover the basis of what you want to present, quite possibly the takeaways for the audience as well. Specify if you envision a single presenter. For example, if you're going to be a sole presenter, a panel of speakers, or if you're going to do some sort of hands-on activity that demonstrates and applies the knowledge that you're sharing with the audience. Specify the theme for your session, and we're recommending that you go to constructioninclusionweek.com and identify one of the 5 themes to categorize your session. So leadership, belonging, supplier diversity, workplace culture, or community engagement. Please do indicate which of those areas your session encompasses or addresses. Then provide the full description of your abstract. If you've presented this before, let us know where you've presented it for, who the audience was, and what the key takeaways are. You can attach it if you've done this before or you have it written up in a different format. We welcome an attachment through that submission. Otherwise, you can type it in the information and provide that to our proposal evaluators. We do need your information and speaker's biography. So if you have more than one speaker, please do put their names, titles, organizations, and email addresses in there. I'm not quite sure if you'll have enough room for the 100 words biography for each, but put as much information in there so that we can follow up with you and get some questions answered if we do have questions. If you have any special audio and visual needs related to your presentation, or you have a specific style, that requires additional screens or props, please do let us know. Wendy's information is still shown on screen. And always, always, always include the primary point of contact for your proposal. Some additional information about this conference. It is a training conference provided by our industry peers. At this time, we have not identified a budget to compensate speakers. However, depending on the hardship or any direct expenses, we may consider reimbursing those. That would be at the discretion of the selection committee. It may also be at the discretion of a sponsor from our industry. We reserve the right to combine speaker topics from multiple proposals into a panel, or to even break out our format in a way that we can have multiple sessions running simultaneously. We had not done that. It had all been one audience to date, but depending on the content and the interest of the audience, we may have that option for breakout sessions. Submission and confirmation of your selection is our permission to use your name, likeness, credentials, and topic information in promotion. So just it's an awareness thing. By submitting, we do hope to be able to use your name, likeness, credentials, and topic in the promotion of the conference so that people know the quality of information that is being provided to them through this conference. On that note, we will be collecting speakers' headshots, titles, and topic abstracts so that we can disseminate that information via email, social media, and all other marketing platforms. We will provide speaker graphics for personal publicity on your own social media pages, and we encourage you to share those with your social media outlets on your company websites and in all other means where you're able to promote the work that you do as well. There will be an opportunity to provide marketing material, collateral for attendees, whether or not it's provided in at their workstation or in a bag for attendees, but there is an opportunity to provide company branded swag. Presentations will be made available online, and they're promoted throughout the year. As we continue to reinforce the topic of construction inclusion, we always point back to the website with the information that's available and hope that people continue to use those resources as they face challenges or new situations in their workplace. We do have a printed conference brochure, and each speaker will have the opportunity to include a 3/4 page article with headshot, logo, and contact information, which can be formatted for a nice marketing piece and insert in your own collateral and marketing materials. Finally, please do stay engaged with us. My name is Patty Olds. I am the current chair of the Associated Minority Contractors of America. I work alongside Wendy Taylor, whose information was on multiple slides and who is leading up the speakers committee for the conference. We will answer any questions that you may have and give you an examples that have been presented over the last couple of years. Please do call and email with any questions. Know that our industry partners, our sponsors that you saw on those earlier slides, are planning a kickoff mixer in September, and that's to engage the industry here locally again on this topic, get them geared up and ready for Construction Inclusion Week as a whole, and to remind them that this conference is available for those people within their companies who could use that extra professional development and knowledge as it relates to construction inclusion as a whole and diversity, equity, and inclusion for our industry. I have on the screen several dates that are relevant to the conference. So currently our call for speakers is open. It will stay open until May 10th. Today, April 9th, is the speakers webinar. We will make a decision on our speakers by May 30th. We are also preparing to solicit for sponsors and exhibitors for this conference and getting ready for the kickoff mixer in September to launch this initiative again. So where it's very early on in the planning process, I recommend that you stay up to date with the latest information by following us at amcaaz.com and the conference page specifically that's shown on your screen. So I thank you for your interest. I look forward to your proposals. And on behalf of the AMCA and the Construction Inclusion Conference Committee, thank you very much for your attention and for your knowledge and helping to make this industry better for everybody that's a part of it.